So all the astral beings on Elfhelm just got Thanos snapped out of existence, and I'm just sitting here thinking, where was Morta this entire chapter? And I really hope that those Melkers are still corporeal. Anyways, guys, thanks for being patient with me. I know this review came out a little bit later than they normally do, but I had some previous engagements I had to go attend. I got to go see the Clerks 3 premiere, and I hung out with Kevin Smith for a little bit. It was pretty dope. But besides that, I got to come home to a brand new Berserk chapter, chapter 369. You guys know how much I love to 69. However, this was not a fun 69. This was a chaotic, awkward, misshapen, wrong position, sort of just destruction of everything that is good and holy in the universe. Now, we knew when Berserk came back that it was announced that the Elf Island chapters of Fantasia were going to be 6 more chapters, and if you're keeping track, this is chapter 5 out of 6, and it really makes sense when you think about how this chapter ends and what the potential for the final chapter in the Elf Island segment is going to be. But this was basically just to rub salt in the wound, man. We had our little battle, we had the first encounter with Griffith, we had Casca getting taken away, then we had the destruction of Elfhelm, which is still happening in this chapter, and this chapter just fucking rubs your goddamn face in it, so much so that you just feel like Guts here, broken, defeated, just falling to his knees. And this is the saddest thing about this chapter, in my opinion, because Guts is always the guy, you know? He's always the guy that's able to persevere forward. He's always the guy that's able to stand up in the worst conditions possible, always the guy to keep struggling, always the guy to keep going. And you think about all the things that have happened in his life, from his childhood to Gambino to the Band of the Hawk to everything to right now, and it just is one of those moments where everything catches up to him and he just feels so useless. Even the translation saying that he can't even land one blow, but it's more than that. It's not just like the physical, I'm trying to fight Griffith and I couldn't land a blow. It's that, like, I've gone on this entire long ass journey of trying to do the best that I possibly could to survive, and I knew that one day we would be face to face again, and then maybe by that day something would have changed. You know, there was always that idea in the back of his head that someday this is going to happen and it's going to work out, and then face to face with the reality of the situation, he just couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. He just could not do it. And now we have one of these rare moments of Guts just, I think, everything just hit him as hard as possible. This is probably the worst blow he's had since the eclipse itself. You know, not watching Casca be violated, but watching Casca being taken away and him just feeling absolutely helpless in the situation. Now, I was assuming that Guts kind of sinking down within the island as it was being destroyed, that we were going to be dealing with a lot of that, but he actually doesn't get, like, trapped underneath the earth or anything. In the end of the chapter, he does wind up just kind of there on the island, sort of seeing the path of the beams ahead of him, and perhaps, you know, Zod flying away in the distance. So he did not get trapped, so we didn't have that segment go the way that I was thinking it was going to. And we do get one brief panel of the Skull Knight kind of seeing everything, and I love the translation of it's like, what a calamity, because that's just like classic Skull Knight speech, man. I love it. Just like the most like verbatim, just exact pinpoint of what's going on, you know, no emotion, just like, what a calamity. I love it, man. I love this guy. And thank motherfucking God that the motherfucking Chad himself, Roderick, is still alive. My boy is here. Look at Roderick still doing work, man. Coming up on the ship, that hand rising over the corner, and then his crew helping him out. And then what does he do as soon as he gets on the ship? Does he say, oh man, I almost died? Or does he say, man, I'm so scared and terrified? No, he immediately goes into action, calling the shots, being the captain, telling them what to do. And he starts ordering them to throw barrels and everything else into the water so that people have something to grab onto, so they're not swallowed by the sinking of the island or the dark spirits that are attacking. He's still focused on saving people, still focused on doing the right thing. This guy is a badass. Everyone, if you don't appreciate Roderick, just unsubscribe from my channel. Honestly, like, I am only here for Roderick support. If you're a Roderick hater, I just don't even want you here, bro. Actually, well, subscribe until I hit 100,000 subscribers, and then afterwards you can go. I just want to, I would want to hit it first. But then we get the other characters that have made it to the highest ground that they can find as the island sinks into the abyss of the ocean, and we have all the astral creatures, and we see Serpico and Isidro here looking down on, you know, the survivors that are making it to the island, that are trying to get out of the ocean and everything. And then we have a very interesting event that happens. Now, I read this, and at first I was kind of confused, but I think that I might have pieced together a little bit of what is actually happening, so I'm just going to go with my theory, and you guys can tell me if you agree or disagree. But essentially what happens is, as the island sinks away, Danan says that the astral creatures are starting to merge back into the astral world. So essentially they start to disappear. Again, this is sort of like some Infinity War shit where they're kind of evaporating into dust and they're kind of leaving the island. And only the astral creatures, so the creatures that are actually mythological. So we have Danan herself, who is the elf queen, or the flower storm monarch of the island. And we also have Isma, who is a marrow. The other marrows nearby are also disappearing. Which is very sad for Isidro. I actually do feel bad for my guy. Like, I don't hate him as much as most people think I do. I play it up for the humor, but, I got a soft spot for Isidro. And I liked him having his little girlfriend and finding Isma. I enjoyed that little dynamic, and now she's disappearing in his arms. It's like, I don't know, man. I'm feeling some type of way about that. But some more of the creatures start disappearing, and we see some of the fawns and other type of characters that are disappearing as well. Some of the elves. And they're all kind of evaporating back into the astral world, which seemed very strange to me at first, because the first thing I was thinking is that it was this whole gigantic event that the astral world and the physical world had merged together and become one. I mean, this is what the BERSERK Ch is for, right? But then I started thinking about it a little bit further, and I think that it ties into a theory that I had, because my theory was that the spirit tree, the giant cherry tree that is on the island, was very significant to the existence of specifically Danan. I wasn't thinking the entire island, but I was thinking specifically Danan. And when Griffith was going around and destroying all the spirit trees, he destroyed floras. That was the little, connection to the astral world. It was like siphoning a bit of the astral world off, this little area in the world that kind of merged the two. And that's sort of what Elfhelm was, just on a larger scale, so it had a larger tree. And when the tree was destroyed and it sunk into the ocean that had happened in this chapter, well, once the tree was destroyed, the astral creatures started to dissipate. And I think that this leads back to the original chapters of Guts and Chich, which, by the way, so if you're thinking about that chapter, this might actually be good news, because Chich might not actually be dead. She might just have transferred over into another layer of the astral world. So good news out there, everybody. Chich is probably still alive. Wouldn't it be cool if we got to see her before the end of the series? That would be amazing. But I was still very confused about it, because if the astral and physical worlds have merged, then why would they disappear when the spirit tree goes? But then I started thinking about it a little bit further, and maybe that's the entire intent of getting rid of the spirit trees. Maybe the merger of the astral world, because we know that the astral world has different layers, and we know that it kind of goes on deeper and deeper and deeper as you go. I have suspected for a long time that the God Hand, the rest of the God Hand other than Griffith, are still not yet within the physical world because of how deep down into the astral they are. I imagine that they're kind of propelling themselves forward, propelling themselves to the physical, but probably not actually here yet. That probably requires an extra ritual, which might take place in Falconia. But if that's the case, it means that there are layers of the astral world that are not here. Some of it is, but maybe not all of it. And maybe the sum of it that is sort of the dark fears of mankind that has, the trolls and the ogres and the monsters and the horrible shit, but the stuff that mankind has forgotten over time and that they've been disassociated from, and they've been specifically designed over these last thousands of years to not be in tune with, to not be in touch with, to not remember, the positive astral creatures, the positive magic, the good creatures that are out there. That has all sort of dissipated from, the thoughts, minds, and consciousness of mankind over these past 1,000 years. So with the spirit trees gone, connecting them to the physical world, then they would disappear because they wouldn't be part of mankind's consciousness. Does that make sense? I don't know if you guys get where I'm going with this, but I think that that's an explanation as to why they disappear, but they're still, monsters, trolls, ogres, and all those creatures instead. So essentially the spirit trees were what was still connecting the positive magical forces to the world, if that makes sense. But it also adds in an extra question, because it wasn't just the creatures that were connected to the island that disappeared when this happened. It was also Isma and the Marrows, which were not from here. So does that mean every astral creature on this island has just disappeared? And if that is the case, does that mean Puck is gone? Does that mean Avalora is gone? Does that mean that Skull Knight is gone? That is the most interesting one. I don't think so, because for some reason I feel like Skull Knight still exists, like in an interstice like Guts does. I think Skull Knight will still exist, but that's an interesting question. But also, Skull Knight's got the dimension cutting sword, so if we want to go even further with, God, I'm such a fucking nerd. If we want to go even further with this, Skull Knight could probably just like cut his way back into the physical, but that's, my God. Anyways, the point of this chapter was the hopelessness, right? So the island is destroyed, Guts feels defeated, and all of the astral creatures that could be helpful, that would have this positive magic to them, have all gone as well. There still might be some characters here that can help, because we do see some of the witches in training still. We see some of the other humans that were on the island, and if they're in tune with that. So I don't think like Shurike disappeared or anything. She's human, so there's no reason she would. But Puck and Avalora might be gone. They might be gone. And again, these characters aren't dead. They just exist within a different plane of they're basically like dimension hopped, so they are unable to interact within the physical world. So they're not dead. These characters didn't die. They're just not here anymore. But yeah, man, this chapter, it definitely kind of rubbed salt in the wound, and it was pretty heart-wrenching. And we got one more chapter of the Elf Islands. I'm assuming this will be the characters regrouping on the island, everyone coming over to Guts, maybe Guts sort of, maybe Guts is going to go in a different direction a little bit and just be like, what's the point? And someone's going to have to motivate Guts, for once, rather than the other way around. It'd be cool if it was Farnese, because Guts pushed her so hard to begin with, and like the moment where he's like, pick up the torch, you have to defend yourself, you can't just pray, you have to get up and do something. It'd be cool if the roles were reversed and Farnese was able to say something like that to Guts. But other than that, man, really love this chapter. Looking forward to next month, October 14th. So hopefully I'll get that review out to you guys as quick as I can when that comes out. Unforeseen circumstances this month, but yeah, thank you guys for waiting, for being patient for the review. Let me know what you guys think of the chapter down below. Yeah, all your thoughts, theories, comments, opinions, let me know what you think down below. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, and let me know what you think of my theories and what do you think is going to happen moving forward. And other than that, guys, I just want to generally say that I love you guys, and thank you so much for the support. I really, really do appreciate each and every one of you, and I love you guys so much, man. Thank you.